Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel, wishing you a delightful listening experience. Today, we're diving into the book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. This book is authored by Bill Gates, where he presents a set of solutions termed carbon neutrality to address global climate change. In this context, carbon refers to greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, symbolizing the core component. Carbon neutrality aims to achieve net zero emissions of greenhouse gas, meaning offsetting emitted gases by an equivalent removal amount, preventing further buildup in the atmosphere. So, why pursue carbon neutrality? How urgent is this matter for us? What technologies and obstacles are involved? These are pressing questions, often on many minds, but rarely answered comprehensively. Within this book, Bill Gates draws from years of exploration and contemplation to address these queries. You're likely familiar with Gates as the co-founder of Microsoft, co-chair of the Gates Foundation, and a notable philanthropist. However, his motivation for writing extensively on climate change and carbon neutrality stems from a journey alleviating energy poverty among disadvantaged communities. Through encounters with numerous scientists and extensive research, Gates was alarmed by the severity of the climate crisis we face. He highlights that the Earth's current temperature is approximately 1 degree Celsius, higher than pre-1850 levels. Without intervention, this figure could rise to 1.5-3 degrees by 2050 and 4-8 degrees by the century's end. This temperature increase isn't uniform. Some regions will experience extreme heat. Additionally, droughts and storms will intensify, alongside rising sea levels, shrinking areas for flora and fauna. This scenario could lead to food shortages, refugee crises, aquatic ecosystem deaths, tropical diseases, and increased heart attack risks. If the warming trend persists, by the end of the century, climate-induced fatalities could surpass those caused by the COVID-19 pandemic fivefold. Economically, the global warming impact equates to a pandemic-scale catastrophe every decade. To avert this climate disaster, Gates emphasizes the imperative of addressing global warming, necessitating at least achieving carbon neutrality, stabilizing greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere. How do we achieve this goal? Gates outlines a comprehensive strategy within this book. In the following sections, we'll focus on pivotal aspects. Initially, why is carbon neutrality fundamentally an economic issue according to this book's perspective? Subsequently, we'll explore the available technological tools and anticipated innovations crucial for attaining carbon neutrality across major carbon-emitting sectors, like power generation, agriculture, and manufacturing. So, why does Gates argue that carbon neutrality is fundamentally an economic issue? At the beginning of the 21st century, while initiating the Gates Foundation, Gates extensively engaged in low-income countries in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, aiming to provide affordable and reliable energy sources to impoverished communities. However, discussions with scientists in these domains revealed a dilemma. While these communities required cheaper energy sources, increased usage would spike greenhouse gas emissions, exacerbating global warming and environmental hazards, an unbearable scenario for predominantly agrarian populations. After thorough research, Gates concluded that impeding development in impoverished regions to address climate issues wasn't a viable solution. Instead, the focus should be on enabling energy consumption growth without exacerbating climate change-creating conditions, where energy consumption can increase without emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This might seem paradoxical and impractical, but Gates, after years of learning and consultations, confirmed several points. 1. Globally, approximately 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases are emitted annually, with an upward trajectory. To halt global warming and avoid climate disasters, achieving carbon neutrality is imperative, reducing this figure to zero. 2. Gates proposed a holistic approach in the book, encapsulated in rapidly executing a global energy transition from fossil fuels to clean energy sources. Although the statement sounds straightforward, its implementation poses significant challenges. History indicates that energy transitions are protracted processes. For instance, until 1840, wood was the primary energy source. Coal accounted for merely 5% of global energy supply, eventually surging to nearly 50% by 1900, a 60-year transition period. It took until around 1990 for natural gas to represent 20% of the world's energy supply, after its introduction in the 1930s. In summary, transitioning from one energy source dependency to another typically spans decades or even centuries. Bill Gates emphasizes that fundamentally energy transition is not an environmental issue, but an economic one. The reason the world emits so much greenhouse gas is that fossil fuels are the cheapest option. Compared to fossil fuels, clean energy incurs higher costs, termed by Gates as a green premium. For instance, in recent years, the average selling price of aviation fuel in the US was $2.22 per gallon, while advanced biofuels averaged $5.35 per gallon. The green premium for clean energy is the difference between these prices, amounting to $3.13 per gallon. Gates asserts that expediting energy transition essentially involves reducing this green premium through new technologies, companies, and products. The aim is to make clean energy as affordable as fossil fuels, enabling both developed and developing nations to afford clean energy, allowing everyone to contribute to carbon neutrality. Therefore, the green premium stands as a core concept in this book, critical to understanding the proposed technological solutions. It serves as a cost comparison tool, aiding decision-making when faced with various clean energy technologies. Understanding different green premiums helps decide which energy technologies to deploy presently and where to seek breakthroughs in energy sectors to further reduce the green premium. If a clean energy source has a low or near zero green premium, it becomes the direction for immediate promotion and deployment. Conversely, if a low green premium energy source isn't deployed, cost might not be the primary barrier. Other obstacles, like outdated public policies or a lack of awareness, could impede large-scale deployment. Sectors with high green premiums require focus on research and investment. These areas obstruct carbon neutrality efforts and demand new technologies, companies, and products to reduce the green premium. For countries excelling in innovation, this presents an economic opportunity through technological innovations that create low green premium energy products. Exporting to regions unable to afford high green premiums becomes feasible. This promotes competition among nations and enterprises to develop and propagate affordable, innovative products, ultimately advancing carbon neutrality. To achieve carbon neutrality swiftly, Gates stresses the need to lower the green premium of clean energy through technological innovation. Yet, apart from technical barriers, there are other non-technical obstacles. In the climate change domain, especially in the US due to political reasons, Gates acknowledges he lacks solutions for these political issues surrounding climate change. However, he directs more resources towards early-stage technological research in clean energy, investing in promising clean energy companies, advocating global policies for technological breakthroughs, and encouraging others with resources to do the same. Currently, his investments in carbon neutrality exceed $1 billion, covering affordable clean energy, low-emission cement, steel, meat products, among others. He emphasizes focusing on innovation and creativity themselves, rather than specific businesses or companies, due to the high investment and risk in this field, subject to immense uncertainty. Let's turn our attention to power generation, agriculture, and manufacturing, primary carbon-emitting sectors. We'll explore the available technological tools for achieving carbon neutrality in these areas, and what future technological innovations to watch. Before diving in, a quick reminder about the concept of the green premium. Understanding this concept is crucial because all the forthcoming technological deployments and innovations aimed at energy transition primarily seek to reduce the green premium of clean energy. Before introducing these technical solutions and innovations, let's review two critical figures. 510 billion and 0. 510 billion represents the approximate tons of greenhouse gases emitted annually into the atmosphere globally, a number that continues to rise over time. 0 is our target. To achieve this, a comprehensive solution is necessary, considering all human activities contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. While discussions about carbon neutrality often emphasize the electricity sector, which accounts for approximately 27% of global emissions, it's essential to note what comprises the remaining 3/4. Statistics reveal that manufacturing contributes 31% of greenhouse gas emissions, agriculture 19%, transportation 16%, and heating and cooling 7%. Gates admits he was surprised upon discovering this breakdown because most articles on climate change he had read focused heavily on electricity, leading him to believe it was the primary culprit for emissions. However, the reality is more complex. Nevertheless, the positive aspect is that while the electricity sector accounts for only 27% of emissions, the solutions it represents transcend this percentage. Currently heavily reliant on coal, oil, and natural gas for power generation, the sector emits substantial greenhouse gases. Switching to clean energy for electricity production could prevent these emissions. Similarly, the emissions from transportation, heating, and cooling primarily arise from combusting hydrocarbons, resulting in significant carbon dioxide release. However, shifting to clean electricity sources for electric vehicles, buses, heating, and cooling systems could substantially mitigate emissions in these sectors. While achieving carbon neutrality isn't solely dependent on clean electricity, it plays a pivotal role in this pursuit. Switching from fossil fuels to clean energy sources is fundamental in this journey. Let's dive into the technological pathways for achieving carbon neutrality in the primary carbon-emitting sectors: power generation, manufacturing, and agriculture. Power generation. The power generation sector heavily relies on fossil fuels, constituting about 62% of global electricity production, approximately 2/3. However, the costs of clean energy sources like solar and wind power have significantly decreased with technological advancements. The green premium for these in the U.S. and Europe is approximately 15% to 20%, slightly higher than fossil fuel-based electricity. The challenge with renewable sources isn't cost, but rather their intermittency. Solar sets and the wind doesn't blow consistently, causing intermittent power generation. This doesn't align with the constant need for electricity. To address this intermittency curse, solutions include building backup power plants, but this introduces additional carbon emissions. Alternatively, improving grid and transmission technology for more extensive and efficient power distribution is feasible, but expensive. Additionally, Gates discusses several promising future technological solutions at different development stages. 1. Nuclear energy. Nuclear fission offers reliable, carbon-free power generation around the clock. Despite its potential, challenges such as high construction costs, fuel issues, and hazardous waste remain. Innovations like wave reactors aim to mitigate these issues. 2. Hydrogen. Portable hydrogen serves as a storage solution for electricity. Fuel cells extract energy from hydrogen and oxygen, generating power with water as the only byproduct. 3. Thermal energy storage, storing excess power as heat and converting it back to electricity when needed. Molten salt storage appears as one of the most promising methods. These technological innovations, if realized, could overcome the intermittent nature of clean energy sources. Agriculture. Agriculture, often overlooked, contributes approximately 19% of total greenhouse gas emissions. The primary sources of emissions in agriculture are methane released through livestock digestion and manure decomposition. Livestock, especially cattle, produce significant methane emissions. However, the methane emission levels vary greatly depending on the farming practices. Enhanced breeds, better feed, and improved veterinary care significantly reduce methane emissions. Moreover, adopting advanced manure management practices in less affluent regions can further cut emissions. Beyond this, the production and consumption of meat contribute substantially to greenhouse gas emissions. Investing in alternatives like plant-based meat could substantially mitigate emissions from livestock. Conclusion: these areas represent significant contributors to carbon emissions, addressing the transition from fossil fuels in power generation and implementing innovative solutions in agriculture are crucial steps toward achieving carbon neutrality. Overview of manufacturing in achieving carbon neutrality. Discussing the manufacturing sector, it contributes roughly 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions, marking the largest proportion among all sectors. Bill Gates focuses on carbon-neutral strategies primarily in the production of three vital materials: steel, cement, and plastic. Emissions from material production. Steel production involves high-temperature smelting to release oxygen from iron ore and carbon from coke. This process results in substantial carbon dioxide emissions, approximately 1.8 tons for every ton of steel produced. Similarly, cement production requires the incineration of limestone and other materials in kilns, generating about 1 ton of carbon dioxide for every ton of cement produced. While plastic manufacturing also involves carbon like steel and cement production, where CO2 is released entirely as a byproduct. Around 50% of carbon remains within the plastic, since carbon is a vital element for its production. Carbon neutral strategies. To achieve carbon neutrality in manufacturing without halting production, Gates suggests 3 primary steps: enhanced material efficiency, reduce unnecessary production by maximizing material usage efficiency, transition to clean energy sources, shift electricity generation from fossil fuels to clean sources like solar, wind, and nuclear power, necessitating a reduction in the green premium of clean energy. Carbon offsetting technologies. Implement technologies to mitigate unavoidable carbon emissions. Gates introduces the term carbon offsetting, focusing on both emission reduction and absorption. Point source offsetting. Devices installed at emission sources like power plants capture approximately 90% of greenhouse gases. While existing for decades, their high purchase and operation costs hinder widespread use, necessitating public policy incentives. Direct air capture. Unlike point source offsetting, this method directly captures carbon from the atmosphere. It's more flexible, capable of capturing historical emissions, but faces significant technical challenges, as it needs to sift through 2,500 gas molecules to find one CO2 molecule. Conclusion and future outlook. To conclude, Gates emphasizes the urgency in addressing climate change by achieving carbon neutrality globally. The book outlines various technological solutions aimed at reducing emissions. He highlights the need for government investments to kickstart innovations, subsequently fostering private sector involvement. While acknowledging the uncertainty and significant investments required in these innovations, Gates underlines the potential of these breakthroughs in shaping a carbon-neutral future. He draws parallels with past technological advancements that initially relied on government funding before becoming commercially viable. Gates concludes by emphasizing the importance of combining wisdom and practicality to achieve financial goals and create a better future, urging subscribers to the Tim Booker channel to share and apply this valuable knowledge. Thank you for listening to the Tim Booker channel and for your commitment to integrating wisdom and practice for a brighter future. Goodbye for now.